Hi everybody, Devlina here, the certified Silva Method Instructor in India, and welcome you all to the Silva Talk Show. And let me take the pleasure to introduce you all one of our amazing instructor, Dragan Vujovik, and he is a bilingual instructor. He is in this field for more than 30 years in the Silva Mind Training Program. He is doing an amazing works, and he is an author of more than 60 plus products. So we will talk on this later in this conversation. And he has been, training already 50,000 plus students. He has been changed their lives, and so amazing works he has been doing. We will discuss more on this. So welcome Dragan, welcome you in the Silver Talk Show.
Discover a new version of yourself. Join the life-changing webinar on the Silva Method by Dragan Vujovik, certified Silva Method Instructor.
Okay, Debelina, thanks a lot. I'd like to, correct the figures a little bit because
Yeah.
those are old figures. I've
Yeah.
done more than 500 live courses, and it's more than 100,000 people that I have trained either
Okay, great.
individually or as a group in all sorts of
Yeah, yeah.
fields. Okay, and the number of
Okay,
years
okay.
that I'm present in Silva Method is precisely 36 right now. Okay,
Okay,
but
okay.
we'll be,
I
we'll
think
be
then you need to change these things in your website as well, because I have taken this from the website of yours.
yeah,
It's
yeah, yes,
Dragan V. I will mention the link of his website also in our description box so that people can check it out. So
sure,
yeah,
sure.
Dragan, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. As I say, I'm doing the way I decided. I decided a long time
Yeah.
ago that I'm doing excellent. And people say, when you ask them, how are you? They usually, in their
Mhm.
head, they can see, they say, they grade their aspects of life and they say family, C minus,
Mhm.
and finances or money or work, D,
Mhm.
and then they say health, B, and they say it's not bad, So
Yeah.
I decided I'm doing excellent, and I had made the decision a long time ago. So that question has been solved a long time ago.
I think it's a great start, Dragon, of our conversation. That people will get to know so many things just with one answer of yours.
Yes.
Like how to see life, or how to enjoy life the
Yeah,
most.
they usually say if you're doing excellent, you have no problems. I say I have same problems like you, but I'm
Hmm.
doing excellent, so I can do it much better, much quicker,
Yeah,
and solve it, in a
yeah.
different manner. Okay.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. So, Dragon, before we are going to discuss on one amazing topic that we are facing currently, be it a child who is going to school, or teenagers, or adults, or whoever is going to college or office, or maybe they're doing their household works. Everybody is struggling with stress nowadays. It's becoming, the more modern we are becoming, the more evolving we are. Stress is affecting us, it's coming us in our day-to-day life. It's like, becoming major, roadblock, you can say, in our everyday life. So we are going to discuss on this particular topic. But before we start discussing, Dragan, I would love to hear from you that how your journey has started, how you have introduced with Silver Method and other like mindfulness things, how you have started all those
My
things.
journey is very interesting. I was in London in
Okay.
1987 on a scholarship from
Mhm.
the British Council, and I was in the area of marketing because I studied biology at Harvard for 2 years. Then I went back to my hometown of Belgrade, Yugoslavia, and I studied economics. Then I went on to postgraduate studies in economics and marketing, and I went on this stipend, on this scholarship to England for 6 months. And I was just
Yeah.
reading the newspaper, Evening Standard. Well, I don't think if it's still today in England, but Evening Standard, a regular newspaper. And I opened it up, and there was an ad which said, "Would you like to use more of your brain?" I said, why not, man? This is interesting. I heard that we're
Yeah.
using very little of our brain. So I went to this free lecture. It was then the lecture of Silva Method in England, John Newman, and he made
Okay.
the lecture. And I was sitting in the back as a healthy skeptic, and I was saying, if 5%, he was talking about the basic course of Silva Method, okay? And, and I said, if 5% of this is true, this is worth it. So I paid my whole scholarship monthly, almost. I paid for the course, and I went there, and I was a practitioner. I immediately started practicing using the three fingers technique, the mirror of the mind, and so forth. I started following the feedback, which was excellent. And then I
Mm.
approached him and I said to John Newman, I live in Eastern Europe, in Yugoslavia then. And I said, I know because I was educated in the American environment. I went to an American international school in Vienna, Austria. That's high school, 4 years, 2 years at Harvard. I know how the Americans think. I think you probably don't have Silva method in Eastern Europe, in all those socialist countries. And he says, yeah, well, that's
Mm.
the only part of the world where we don't have it. So I said, let's open it up. And he said, it's scientifically based, and people are under stress and they need to use more of their brain. And he said, well, write a letter to the headquarters and then, you'll see how they're going to react. So I wrote a letter, and they were in Greece, which is a neighboring country. And it was Juan Silva, who was the director of foreign countries, aside from US. And he came to Belgrade with Tony Silva, the son of Jose Silva. We had a meeting. I proposed to them the plan, how we should develop this in Eastern Europe. They accepted the plan, and they made me the supervisor for Eastern Europe. So I actually started immediately spreading out the Silva method in Eastern European countries, which was then to name it the whole of Soviet Union before falling apart, and Poland, Czechoslovakia, Romania, Bulgaria, Hungary, Yugoslavia, all those countries. And I started doing that, and I either helped indirectly or directly to open up about like open up Romania, Hungary, Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia, I taught myself the first course, and Poland and Czechoslovakia, and then I gave it back to the United States, and I said to the headquarters, go ahead and open further countries because you know it's not my greatest talent. My greatest talent is teaching, and my greatest talent is creating new contents. So that's what I did, and then I concentrated on teaching and creating new contents.
Wow,
But it
that's
all
a
started
great
with an
journey.
ad in a paper, okay? And somebody will say that's an accident, and we know that that's not an accident. I was looking for my greatest talent, and I found it.
Yeah,
I found it.
great. That's a great journey, and Silva Method got you an
Yes.
amazing talent, I believe. Yeah. So, Dragan, let's now move to our topic of discussion, that's stress. So, let's understand the thing first. What is stress actually? Like, I think we need to understand this first before finding the solutions on this problem. But what actually stress is?
Well, stress is really a response to a change, okay, in our life, and it's a positive response that we have. And imagine a mad dog on the street running towards you. Then what happens? You have a stress reaction in your body. All this adrenaline is pumped up, and you're running away the best that you can. So, and this is the so-called fight or flight reaction. And but we live in a world where people interpret this, endangering of their life from different viewpoints. Work. Am I going to finish this project in time? Are they going to kick me out and fire me? What about my wife? She's in a good mood lately. The kids are not talking to me. People feel this threats feel from all sides, and this is why they live in a chronic stress. Other definition is stress is emotional or thinking or physical tension, in general. And sometimes psychologists say that it's the demands of the situation exceed the perception of the person of their ability to solve this or cope with this. So but the really the closest and the simplest is the reaction to a change. But keep in mind that today's person has so many changes. Even the cell phone, the messages that they send, the social media. So there's so much information being bombed at them, sent to them. So they experience a lot of changes during the day, and then they live in chronic stress. What is really unhealthy is chronic stress, not stress as a built-in natural reaction. And chronic stress means that this person is living in this tension type world and full of these feelings of threats coming from all sides, all these things that are endangering his life or her life. And that creates blocking of the energy pathways in the body, because our body is like a highway system in India, and then you have in your body the backbone, the main highway, then you have all these regional highways and throughways, and then you have the small roads to the villages and so forth. So then the stress creates blockages. the so-called stress blockers, and they block the energy pathways. And if the energy pathways are blocked for a longer period of time, then the disease appears in that part of the body, whether it's a kidney and they have a stone in the kidney or in the gallbladder, or whether it is veins on their legs, or whether it is a problem with the lower back pain, and so forth. So everybody has their sensitive parts, and that's where the blockage happens due to chronic stress, and that's why diseases happen. So stress is really the major source of diseases on this planet.
Yeah, so we have already discussed so many things. So let's break this in small parts, so that people will get more depth on into this.
Mm-hmm.
So as you were telling that it's not necessary that stress is always signifies the bad parts. Stress sometimes it's good, but tension type stresses like chronic stress are bad. So let's put some more light onto this. So what kind of stress people can think that yeah it's a healthy thing, we should have this, or what
This is
kind of stress, yeah, that they should be aware, no, I'm getting more into that, bad part of stress, and now I have to be, or I should be aware of that.
There are two major sources of stress. If you look at a source of a river, which starts as a creek and then develops as a river, okay,
Hmm.
then there are two major sources which work in our everyday life continuously. One is worries, and the second one is guilt feelings. Okay, and this is how everybody goes through them. Worries are directly
Correct.
towards the future, and guilt feelings
Hmm.
towards the past. Okay, so people
Hmm.
have worries about the future. What's going to happen with my dad? He went to the hospital. How is the surgery gonna go on? Is he gonna be able to manage this and come home? Of course, worries can be about ourselves or our closest ones, or about work, about
Hmm.
anything. And then the guilt feelings are about the past. What did I mess up? What is it that I didn't do right? And then what about other people that didn't behave rightly towards me, like my boss who criticized me, like my wife who doesn't appreciate what I'm doing for the family, and so forth. So the worries directly towards the future and the guilt feelings directly towards the past are the major forms of sources of stress in everyday thinking and functioning of a human being. And we have one suggestion I have in our program, the Unstressed Toolbox, nine tools for managing stress and neutralizing stress. I have a worry transformer. And what do you do there? When a worry comes in, let's say about it, let's say my dad, they took him to the hospital, he might have a surgery, and the prognosis is not so positive. So you start with the bad thought, with the worries, and worries always have these negative possible outcomes in the future. And sometimes people are experts in catastrophic outcomes in the future, and they're used to that. So you say, what if my dad doesn't get back home? What if the surgery doesn't go well? And then you use the four-step formula, which is the worry transformer. You say stop Debalina, okay, or stop Dragan, and then you go, you stop the direction of this thinking process towards your fears, okay, and then you say, what was I thinking about that I'm afraid of? I was thinking about my daddy not managing this surgery and not coming back home. And then you go, what do I desire? I desire for my dad to, go through the surgery well and come back home, in good health and functioning well. And then you confirm the desire as if it had happened already. And you say, my dad has managed the surgery well. He has come back home, joyful and functioning well. And that's changing the whole thinking process from a process directed towards fears to a process directly towards fulfilled desires. That's a complete change in the thinking structure of a human being every day. And I'd suggest to people to do this daily whenever they catch themselves in a worrying process. And keep in mind that repeated worries create anxiety. And anxiety is 20% of Americans, according to the American Institute of Stress. Americans are the most stressed out people in the world. They're about 55% of Americans live under stress, according to the surveys. The rest of the world, 143 countries, 35%. But still, it's very high. So this is the major source, is the worries. The second one is the guilt feelings. And we have in the Unstressed Toolbox, we have a guilt eliminator, okay? And I can also explain that if you want me to, but that's the second one. And that's regarding the past. And people have this feeling of guilt, blaming.
Discover a new version of yourself. Join the life-changing webinar on the Silva Method by Dragan Vujovik, certified Silva Method Instructor.
blaming themselves and blaming others. I should have done this. I could have done this better. I didn't fulfill this. I didn't reach this goal. This was a failure, and this, that I did. They also blame others, for what's happening in their life, and they say, my mother-in-law, is not appreciating what I do, as a son for, as a husband for my family and for her daughter and so forth. People blame everything and everybody, especially the weather, the prime minister, and the economic situation for what's happening in their life. But usually they blame concrete persons, especially themselves. If they blame themselves, they usually also afterwards punish themselves for not fulfilling this or for not reaching the goal and stuff. So this inner punishment goes on continuously, when it's regarding other people, then they actually locate the responsibility for their life to other people. It's the prime minister, it's my mother-in-law, it's the weather, and it's my boss, not me, and it's me, I'm an angel, but look what these other people are doing to me. So this guilt feeling, I have a tool which is called Guilt Eliminator in the Unstressed Toolbox. They're both done during the day in the awake state. You don't go to alpha frequency, you don't close your eyes and go. This is done in the awake state. And guilt feeling is done like a coin. You have two sides. And the first one is you imagine, in front of you, just close your eyes and imagine there's this people, or visualize, let's be precise, a person that has not behaved fairly towards you or in line with your moral, criteria. And then you address this person mentally and you say, I accept that you did the best that you can in a certain situation, if it was one situation, or in our relationship from the beginning until today. Okay, why do you accept and how do you accept? Based on what? That this person did the best they can. You accept that they did the best they could, in line with their knowledge and experience. Let's keep in mind that our viewers, after our viewing our podcast or listening to it, will have different new knowledge and new experience. So what they did yesterday, they might do differently today because they have new knowledge and new experience. So you say you did the best you could in line with knowledge and experience that you had at your disposal. Okay, you did the best that you could in line with the dominant programs in your library of subconscious, because your subconscious library is your library of habits, and we're 95% of time we're habitual. So this other person has different habits because they had different parents, different childhood. So, they behave differently than I would, and this is the basic mistake that people say, I would never do this, in his place or in her place. I would never behave like this. Well, he would never behave like you because he has different set of programs and habits. He had different parents, different moral, codex and everything. So this is the second criteria. Third criteria, you accept that this person did the best they could in line with their level of development, because we all have this curve, of development, life curve, and they did the best they could based on the level of the point in this curve of level of development on which they were. So once you accept that they did the best they could, then you can go to the second part, which is forgiveness, and you say, once I accept it, I forgive you, you are forgiven. Then you go to the third part and you send a mental present to this person. This is my specialty, and you say, I send to you from all of my heart. And then you say more tolerance, more respect. Let's say it's a boss, more respect for your co-workers, better communication skills, and so forth. So you're sending out a mental present to this person, what they were lacking so far. This is called the guilt eliminator. When you do the other person, you finish this, then you do it for yourself. You imagine, you visualize yourself as if your twin was standing right in front of you, and you go through the 3 steps: acceptance, forgiveness, and mental presence. And that is a fantastic tool which cleanses the guilt feeling from you, because the guilt feeling about the past, either yourself or somebody else, is really a radiation. It's really a poison in the body. And it's a big source of stress, So these two sources, continuously work in a person, worries about the future, probably more than guilt feelings, and guilt feelings about the past. And this is the constant 2 sources every day. And whether the worries are about work, we can talk about it, or about money, or about relationships, that's different areas. But these are the 2 sources. And I have created 2 tools which neutralize this so that every person can use them. And keep in mind one thing: when you accept that the other person did the best they could, it doesn't mean that you agree with that, okay? And people mix that up, because I accept that a person did the best that they could on a certain occasion, and I had this question and say, well, there was a terrorist in Brussels and he blew up a bomb and he killed 7 people and injured 10. You are telling me, Dragan, that they did the best they could. Of course they did. In line with these 3 criteria, they did the best they could. But I don't agree with that. Okay. I, as Dragan, I will do everything that I can to make this world a better place where nobody is going to limit the free will of a human being or harm another human being. So, but I accept that he did the best he could. Okay, because keep in mind that this person that did this, when he
Mhm.
was in his mother's womb, already his brain was programmed that these other people, across the border are the bad ones. And if you kill him, then you liberate your own people. Then you're doing something very, doing something, fantastically good. And God is also going to receive you with all these presents and I don't know what else, so forth. So, according to the 3 criteria, he did the best he could. I don't agree with that. And I wouldn't ever do that. I'm doing everything possible to eliminate that from this planet, okay, as a free human being. So that's
Yeah.
in order to understand, and people also forgive without the acceptance that a person did the best they
Mhm.
could. I met with a lady and she said, I read a book on forgiveness. It's so beautiful, Dragan, and I'm forgiving all the time, everybody. And I said, who do you forgive? Because I as a teacher, trainer, I like to provoke a little bit so people become aware of, what they're doing. And sometimes they do it
Yeah.
superficially, and,
If
and, I,
it's
and
doing
I, said,
correctly or
I
not.
forgive everybody. It's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful feeling, the forgiveness. I said, who do you forgive the most? She says, my ex-husband. So I say, does he send regular money, like alimonies for the kids? And then she, started grinding her teeth and she said, no, he doesn't, this idiot. So I said, what is the forgiveness about? It's empty, it's superficial. You got to accept that he did the best he could. Then the forgiveness has its full power. Okay. And then you send the mental presence. So these are 2 tools that I described to you and our spectators and our people that are listening to
Mhm.
the podcast because I'm used to equipping people with tools. I don't like to talk about stuff, theoretically or in general. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So, I have one more question here that arises in my mind is like, for someone, if I'm, forgiving and then sending some mental presence to them, for example, if we take the case of that one terrorist, for example,
Okay.
the terrorist has done, some bad things, and then, but in my, mind, I am sending some mental presence to him that, yeah, whatever you have done it correct way, but I'm forgiving you, and then like I'm sending some mental presence that I am sending you some mental peace and happiness and kind of other stuffs. Okay, but is that my things that I'm sending through my mind will affect that person to whom I'm sending?
No, well, listen, we're always interconnected with other people, but this is not the major reason why you're doing the guilt eliminator. You're doing the guilt eliminator for yourself, for your
Yeah,
own health,
yeah,
to get rid of the
yeah.
poison in your body, to get rid of the radiation,
Mhm.
because that's what guilt feeling, blaming is. But the fact
Yeah.
that it's sent out to other people, it is,
Mhm.
and you're sending out to that person, uh, tolerance and unconditional love, cooperation with other nations, accepting that they're different and so forth. That what he didn't have, but people ask me this and say, if I'm doing the guilt eliminator, let's say I'm doing the guilt eliminator towards my let's say my parent, my dad, who was always very strict on me and always doing this and stuff like that and harsh on me and criticizing, but he's not changing his behavior. I said, that's not why you're doing it. You're not doing it to help him change his behavior. You're doing it to cleanse yourself from this guilt feeling. So if there is a change in behavior, that can be an additional plus, but that's not, of course, you're sending it out. Of course, we're
Mhm.
interconnected. We're interconnected all the time,
Okay.
all the time.
Okay.
And when we think of someone, we're actively interconnected. We're like light bulbs in a big ocean of life, and we're all in this one ocean of life. But when I speak to Debalina, like right now, the 2 bulbs are, they're turned on. The light is on. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're
Mhm.
actively interconnected. So I send it, but we're free human beings, and I can only offer to somebody else all the best, but I cannot change the other person or their thinking. I can offer on a platter. Okay,
Mhm.
so that's all we can do, and that's what I always teach people. You can change yourself. This is the only person you can change, and you can offer all the best to others. What they were lacking. So this is the mental present. Okay.
Okay, I think it's clarified my answer, like what I was searching for that. Okay, so that was, the bad stress part we spoke about. So, what about the good stresses?
Well, the good stress really is not so much a topic in today's world, because the good stress is the reaction to a change which mobilizes your energy to do something different, to get up and work, and engage in a project that you didn't want to, or in something that you viewed as dangerous or not pleasant, and so forth. So the good stress, is really present in our life also. But the bad stress, the chronic stress we talked about, is the one
Mm-hmm.
which is the major source of diseases. And people don't do anything systematically with chronic stress. They usually go during their weekends and engage in sports, and then they run, or they
Yeah,
swim, or they play something else, squash or badminton, like in India, I suppose, or something like that. And they engage in some kind of a sport, and they sweat out, and then they feel, they have relieved the tension. But all the thoughts regarding the stress, the worries and guilt feelings don't disappear during the sport. You have
yeah,
beautiful hormones being produced, and the endorphins and everything else while you're doing the sport, but not, the you come back and the same thoughts are there. Take a shower, and the same thoughts, same worries, and same guilt feelings are there. So this is the chronic stress. The good stress is the mobilizing stress, which mobilizes your energy to do something, to change
hmm,
something, or to do it differently. And
yeah.
it's not
I
really
think then,
something that we should talk about much, because it's present,
mhm,
it's natural, it's present and it's
mhm,
natural. And some people say this happened and it finally kicked me in my last part of my body, and got me up from to my feet to do something. So it's
yeah,
it's something that we all have experienced. It's But the bad stress, the chronic stress, is really a big problem, because it creates most of the diseases on this planet. and uh,
yeah,
and it's
mhm,
something which works slowly. It works like slowly, like a drop, by drop and by drop. And then after 20 years, a
mhm,
person has a health problem. People have, like, let's say, a kidney in their kidney, stone in their kidney. They didn't know about it, and they faint in their bathroom. The wife drives them to the hospital, and the doctor says, you have a stone. You have a few stones in your kidney, in your right kidney. And he says, I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about stones in my kidney. Well, how did they happen? 20 years of stress, okay? And then little sand has created, and the sand accumulates and creates a little stone, and then more sand, and then it's a bigger stone, and that's how it happens. It's a 20-year process, So this chronic stress is a
mhm,
silent killer, It's a silent danger. It's not something which
mhm,
happens, You have post traumatic stress, which people experience in battles, in wars and stuff like that, or when they see something which is tragic, and it's in one
yeah,
split second. But I'm talking about this stress which is present in every human being every day of their life, and it slowly erodes the health of this person.
yeah, yes, correctly. And also, like, as we were discussing on this in initial part, that you were telling that the stress is somehow blocking our energy flow pathway. So, what it is, right? Exactly, when what is that energy flow pathway, and how stress is affecting that path?
Discover a new version of yourself. Join the life-changing webinar on the Silva Method by Dragan Vujovik, certified Silva Method Instructor.
Well, we have been created completely healthy, and when we were born, we had in our brain about 2,000 inborn programs. Okay, so you didn't go, your parents didn't take you to a special school to learn how to breathe, to learn how to digest food and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
It's about 2,000 inborn programs were already there in the brain. And one of the programs, the strongest programs that we have, is perfect health. Perfect health, uh, reproduction, and continuation of life. Okay, so these are the strongest programs inborn that we have. By the way, in the second line of strongest programs is healthy natural night sleep. Okay, that we have a special
yeah,
technique in Silva Method. If people have problems with that, but uh, what happens is there that as we have these programs that protect us, and this perfect health. But with living, as we go on living, this stress slowly and slowly erodes our immune system, and in the immune system, the arm is not doing the job. And the stress, what it does really is, imagine your body as a big highway system, and the energy is flowing. And if the energy is flowing in to the last part of the small finger here, that means I'm healthy. Okay. If the energy is not flowing to a certain part of the body, then there is a dysfunction. People say, I cannot move my finger, or I have this, feeling a tingling sensation in my arm. Something is wrong with the nerves, whatever here. So it starts manifesting itself as a health problem. The energy is not flowing everywhere. If it's flowing everywhere in the body, we're healthy. We are a conductor of energy. So stress, what it does, it creates stress blockers. They have a long chemical formula. I didn't try to remember it. And Dr. Chopra talks about it because he's an endocrinologist, so he knows all these formulas. And they create,
Okay.
and then they create the blockage of the energy flow. And usually
Okay.
it's in the part of the body which is most sensitive, or every person has a sensitive part of the body. In most people today, it's the back part of the backbone, the lower part of
Yes,
the
yes, it's
backbone
quite common.
of the spine, because we sit a lot, and because we sit a lot,
Mm.
the muscles there, fall down, and they're not tight, and then the backbone is not as, they don't have the distance, they press on the nerves,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and then the people have all sorts of pains and with their lower back. So that's the
Mhm.
most common problem, but it can manifest itself in many ways. So we are conductors of energy, and when the conducting of energy is intervened with, when it's blocked, then a creation of a health problem starts, and it's a process. It doesn't happen immediately. It happens,
Yeah.
through this process of this chronic stress.
Yeah. So we have spoken a lot on this. What stress is, what are the effects of long-term effects of stress can be in our body. So now let's talk about that, how we can get rid of the stress, or how we can, create something within us so that we can, block the stress to come within ourselves. So let's
Well,
discuss on this.
you cannot block the stress coming in, because we're exposed to all sorts of information, and many bits of
Yes.
information during the day,
Yeah. Yeah.
through the cell phones, through the internet, through iPads and tablets and so forth, and through interaction with other people. So you cannot block that, but you can neutralize your worries and your guilt feelings, which are the two major sources of stress. And what you can do is what we do in Silva Method. You can do your relaxation exercise, which is also a mental exercise. You close your eyes and you go to your level. And when you're
Yeah.
at alpha frequency, it has been proven many times a long time ago. If you stay there for longer than 15 minutes, okay, for longer than 15 minutes, then the stress blockers in the body are dissolved, okay? And that's also, if people do any kind of meditation, they just relax and go to a lower frequency of brain and relax for
Mhm.
15 minutes or more, then the stress blockers are dissolved. So a beautiful thing to do. And I do 2 to 3 times my exercises longer than 15 minutes. And I can also, in our further conversation, say what are the bases of excellent health, because I'm in excellent health and will be in excellent health as long as I'm on this beautiful planet, because I know what to do. But one of the three things that you can do for the neutralizing of stress is worry transformer, guilt eliminator, and relaxation, spending more than 15 minutes in this alpha state. Of course, we as Silva Method people, we use the alpha state to project our goals through the mirror of the mind,
Mhm.
and that fills up the time. So it's not only relaxation, but it's a relaxation mental exercise. I do that regularly twice a day, and most of the time 3 times a day. Okay, and I work 7 days a week. Okay, so and people say that I could be retired already. 5 years. And in May I celebrated my 70th birthday. But biologically I'm on
Wow.
53. Biologically, psychologically I'm on
Mhm.
44. But that's I say I don't want listen to the language. I say I don't want to be retired. I don't want to
Yes.
be tired to begin with, and I don't want to be retired, tired over and over again. I am active. I'm doing what my greatest talent is, what I came for to this planet. So I'm going to be doing this while I'm present on this planet. And in order to do that, I got to be healthy. So I've created. I will tell you further in our conversation what is the basis of continuous lifelong health. Okay, but just to mention this relaxation, the guilt eliminator, and the worry transformer. These are the three tools for neutralizing stress. Excellent tools, and if you use them daily, then you know how to neutralize the greatest source of diseases.
Yes, yes. So, for those Dragan who are, in this stress kind of a thing for longer period of time, for them also this will work wonderful, right?
Of course, of course. Even if they were, people come to our courses and they were, age of 50, 55, and so forth, and they start
Mm-hmm.
doing
Yes.
they start going to alpha frequency, and they start doing their mental relaxation exercise. They start using the worry transformer and the guilt eliminator, and then their life changes. Their life changes. So it's a tremendous knowledge. But keep in mind that we live in the era of information, and we
Hmm.
are just bombarded by information. A lot of time it's not even
Yes.
information, it's disinformation. And we have very small knowledge as a human population. And even smaller is the wisdom. And wisdom I
Yeah.
called applied knowledge checked by life feedback. Okay, so if I say to people at the course, use the techniques. Okay, don't believe me, because you like the way I presented it or something like that, but just use the techniques and check the feedback. Okay, the life feedback. And if you use the three fingers and you found the car keys that you were looking for and you were in a hurry, then you say, oh, good, I did it once, and then you do it again, and then you do it again, and you say, oh, this functions, well, then do it further.
Mhm.
That's wisdom. Wisdom is used knowledge, applied knowledge, checked by life feedback. And that's why I suggest to everybody, don't trust us because you like us or something. Use the techniques and check the feedback. And if it functions, then do it more, because that's also a life rule.
Yeah.
Life is functioning.
Yeah.
Like one of the elements, or I would say traits or characteristics of life as a whole, of universe, of God, of nature, of cosmic consciousness, whatever you want to call it, is functioning.
Mhm.
It functions. Okay. So if something functions, do it more. Okay. And that's my
Yeah.
recommendation to people. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
So one more question that I was having is like till now we were talking about for adults. What about kids? Because nowadays kids are also more prone to get stressed or depressed or getting more anxiety kind of a thing. So what is your suggestion for kids or the parents over here who are watching us for their kids? What will be your
Well, I tell
suggestion?
you, the first suggestion is to limit the usage of their cell phones, as much as possible, to direct their kids towards reading books. Because if you read a book, then your left brain hemisphere, the thinking left brain hemisphere, receives the
Mhm.
text, and your right brain hemisphere creates the film, which is what you've read. So you're developing creativity, you're increasing your vocabulary, and you're using
Yeah.
both brain hemispheres. While during the day they're only just receiving information, now they're actively processing the information and increasing their creativity. Plus, by reading the book, they're increasing their span of attention, which is now very shortened in kids because they're watching the cell phones, and usually the information, they're playing games, and usually their span is very short. So if you talk to a young person, you will notice that when they talk to you, their vocabulary is very small, very short. Okay, you say, how was it at school? Good. What else? Is there anything new? No. So this is, I say,
Mhm.
do you have the ability to say something which is longer than one word? A sentence which is longer than one word? No. Because that's how he functions. Then of course I encourage parents for the kids to have social encounters, meet with their friends physically, talk to them. Not as you see today, they
Mhm.
sit in a restaurant and they sit together and they look at it. Everybody looks at their cell phone. Nobody's talking to anybody. Okay, so this is the great danger that we have in the social development of the social environment. And what happens is these kids then start closing down in their inner world, which they can control and they feel safe in. So he feels safe with his computer, with his cell phone, but he doesn't feel safe talking to another person. What if this other person looks him into the eyes and asks him, do you have any problems right now in life? What are you solving? Wow, that's going to be a catastrophe. So they evade this. They close down in their homes. and they order
Yes.
food by telephone, and somebody brings the food and they play. So they feel safe because they can control the little world that they live in. But the life is not about the little world that you can control. Life is
Mm.
about opening up and
Mm.
communicating with the rest of the world. What here happens is the kids, my experience is that the kids have very low self-esteem, which means they have very,
Yes.
very unhealthy relationship with themselves. And then,
Mm.
when they close down in this small world of their own that they feel they can control, they don't go out of that
Mm.
world. Then that world becomes smaller, smaller, and smaller. And then they have problems with sleep. Then they have problems with worries. Then anxiety comes in. Then they have depression. Then they go to psychiatrists. And, geez, I mean, it just piles up. It just piles up. So we need to encourage. The modern technology has done a big negative impact on the
Yeah.
mental and
Correct.
physical development of our kids. And
Yes.
this is parents. I didn't get cell phones for my kids. It says everybody in the class has a cell phone. I don't care what everybody has. Everybody is not my kids. You're my kid.
Yeah.
You don't have a cell phone. Why? So it's and read the books and do this, and you stimulate, play games with them, so they develop creativity. Keep in mind that creativity is a trait, a characteristic which defines us as human beings. Creativity. And if we don't develop
Mm.
creativity, if you just keep on repeating, I say I come to a gas station to
Mm.
fill up my car with gasoline, and then I come to and the lady is standing behind the counter, and I say, um, I would like to sit down here, at your place and have a cup of coffee, and have let's say a latte, okay, and this is with milk, and she looks at me and she says, uh, one latte, and then she presses the button, and then she goes, cash or card, and then she presses the button. I say cash, and she goes, take away or here. Geez, I just said the first sentence I told you was, I'd like to sit down here and have a cup of coffee here in your gas station. This is what I said. She doesn't listen. She goes I said, in my mind, this person will be substituted by artificial intelligence, by a robot.
Yeah.
Because robot can do these
By a robot.
questions, coffee,
Exactly.
which coffee, boom, press the button and so forth. So people
Mm.
are, this reduction to a smaller world, where I
Mm.
feel safe, and I'm sort of lazy. I don't want to do something in addition, and I don't want to create
Yes.
anything or do anything. That is very dangerous, because if we don't create, then we get very, very, very sad, and when we are unsatisfied,
Mm.
that takes you into the area of depression also. You know.
Yes, yes. Wow. That was, I think, a great description of this. Okay, so as you are telling that you are 70 years now as per your biological age, but sorry, as per your chronological age, but your
Chronological,
biological
right?
age is much lesser. It's and even you don't seem look like you are 70. Not even your skin shows, your skin elasticity, even if I tell, or your hair or something like that. So your biological age is much lesser than 70. It's around 47, 50 kind of a thing. So is stress is something that's affecting our biological age?
Of course,
Stress is
of
something
course.
that's making us look more aged, or
Well,
something like
definitely,
that.
definitely, stress is really
Mm.
age related, and people
Mhm.
that are under stress, chronically, they get older and older. And by the fact that they live under stress, and then you take a look at the typical retired person, and what they do
Yes.
is they reduce their life into 5 programs. I call it a wash machine. A washing machine has more programs than a typical retired person. They get up during the morning, then they get up in the morning, they have the same thoughts, the same worries about their health, then they go to the local store and they buy the whatever, the butter or whatever, the bread and so forth, and they buy the local
Mhm.
newspaper. They see the same news. Actually, it's all repeated, only in different parts of the world, and then they have the same worries, and then he talks to his wife, the grandmother. He takes his meal, then he turns on the TV or the radio. He watches some series, and these series are also a great source of stress, because they usually are full of killings of other people, full of violence,
Yeah.
which we don't see in our life, I've been here
Yes.
7 years. I've never seen a killed person or a killing in my life. But if you open up the TV, that's all you see,
Mhm.
and so he did this. This also strengthens his worries, his thoughts about. He pays attention to his health problems. Of course, the attention attracts energy, so his health problems grow. And then in the evening he watches a favorite TV series or whatever, or a program, or the news. The news are catastrophic, and then he goes to sleep. So what is he doing? He's really living in a small world with few programs, okay, habitual programs, reduced to few programs, and all day long there's stress, from different angles, okay. Whether it's mostly it's worries, and mostly he's paying attention to his health problems, calling up others, discussing this on the phone. So he's really, what you pay attention to, that grows. So he doesn't know that. He hasn't learned that. That attention is your tool of your consciousness, and attention attracts energy. Intention changes energy from one form to another. So they don't know that. So this is the chronic stress. As they reduce the programs, the habitual programs, and they repeat that and repeat that and repeat that, what happens? He's not learning anything new. He's not creating anything new. He's not changing his habits. What happens? In few years, he doesn't even remember where he lives. He will tell you, I don't know
Yeah.
the number of
Mhm.
the house where I live in. you know and he says, it happens to me over and over. Well, that's with age, Dragan. Well, I have excellent memory, because I constantly learn new things, I create new things, and I'm evolving. I'm changing my old habits. Actually, you have, as regarding aging, we have this crossroad. Either it's development
Okay.
or downfall. Okay, development or downfall. Our body starts aging because we have chosen downfall. And this is the typical retired person. He has chosen downfall. He doesn't learn anything new. He doesn't develop anything new, create anything
Mm.
new. He doesn't change his old limiting habits. Okay. And that way he's just, going into a smaller and smaller world full of stress, and he ages quickly. And then he starts forgetting things, and he will tell you, well, people will say, my dad has dementia, or has Alzheimer, problems. But but that's
Mhm.
normal with age. That's not that's
Yes.
one thing is, please, to all our listeners and all viewers, don't live normally. Please live naturally. I live naturally. I don't care about normalcy, because normal is for us to have wars on this planet because it's been happening.
Mhm.
But is it natural? It's not natural for a human being to attack other nation because they have a different name for a god. And so I would say live naturally. And I always stimulate people to live naturally. So I have chosen. You have a choice whether you decide for lifelong growth, development, or you decide for
Mm.
downfall. Well, I decided for lifelong growth. That's why I'm not retired. I will not be retired ever, and I'll be active all my stay on this planet, which is, by the way, a beautiful planet. Okay.
Yes. Wow, that was great. Okay, so Dragan, for those who have, again, who has or who was in this stress for longer period of time and got signs of aging in their skin, in their body, in their, brain. So, what is your suggestion for them? Is there any Silva Method tools and techniques that can help us to regain the things back in their life?
Discover a new version of yourself. Join the life-changing webinar on the Silva Method by Dragan Vujovik, certified Silva Method Instructor.
Of course, because according to Dr. Chopra, who is one of my heroes, we have every 2 years we have a new body. Every 2 years we have a new physical body. So the information that is dominant, which is stored
Mm-hmm.
in what the science calls informational field, or among people, lay people, soul. Everything is
Yeah.
recorded in your soul. But the science today doesn't have any problem with defining the soul as an informational field. It's a long definition, but it's informational field. And let me give you an example how it functions. Let's say a person has a
Mm-hmm.
health problem, okay, and let's say it's the lower spine, okay, which because of a lot of
Mm-hmm.
sitting. And we, according to Dr. Chopra, we exchange. You will listen from other people that we change cells, constantly. We regenerate our body on a cellular level.
Yes.
Let's say your
Yes.
taste buds with which you taste your food are exchanged every 2 hours or 3 hours, completely exchanged, okay, and renewed. So during one day, they renewed, 6 or 7 times. And I'm talking about only the awake state. So if you look at that, that's the taste buds. If you look at the liver on the cellular level, that's completely renewed in 6 weeks. That's month and a half, But I'm talking about the atomic level. And Dr. Chopra talks about the atomic level that we exchange with breathing. We exhale and we give out the atoms out of our body. And then we inhale and the atoms come into our body. And it's 10 to the power of 22nd. That's how many atoms. It's, you can imagine 1 and then 22 zeros. That's the quantity of atoms that come into your body from all living species. And we exhale 10 to the power 22nd atoms. And then what happens? An atom comes into the lower back spine where this problem was happening for 20 years, let's say, in this person. Atom doesn't know anything about a healthy spine or dysfunctional spine. So atoms organize and create molecules. Molecule doesn't know anything about healthy spine, dysfunctional spine. Molecules organize themselves and create a cell. Now, a cell is a very complex system. According to Dr. Chopra and other scientists, one cell in our body conducts about 6 trillion processes every second. Okay? And I want people to understand that. That's 6,000 billions of processes. I say to people, can you conduct 6 processes in 1 second? Can you, make your lunch and cook it and phone, talk to, sometimes ladies say that they can, but anyway, so can you do 6 things at the same time, in 1 second? It's impossible. 6,000, totally beyond our imagination. So one cell, I watched lectures from people that are experts in genetics, and they say that in our nucleus of the cell is where our DNA is. And if you took out the DNA and you printed it on paper, you would have a new library of 500 books, more than 2 billion words, okay? That's in the nucleus of the cell, okay? Which is being recopied over and over in this life process. So one cell in our body is tremendously intelligent. That's why I tell people, never say, I'm stupid, I'm an idiot, I'm this, I'm a moron, or whatever, because that's a lie. That's a biological lie. You're an infinitely intelligent human being. Now let's observe this process further. The cell is a very complex system, asks the mind and the brain. The managing system of the whole body says, how should I behave? I'm a new cell, created out of new life material, and I'm in the lower back spine, down, at this level. So they say, wait a second, we'll check out and let you know. So the mind and the brain look into the informational field, soul, and they see the information dysfunction in that part. And they say, behave dysfunctionally, things are not okay there. And the new cell says, okay, boss, okay, bosses, and he said behaves dysfunctionally. So what do we do with the mirror of the mind, or the healing techniques that people do at Alpha? Is you use your imagination, and the imagination is a divine characteristic of a human being, okay? And we create a new reality. We actually give our brain and mind a command that this part of the body is healthy, okay? And then it transfers that order to the immune system, and the immune system starts intensively changing the situation. And because the body is renewing itself, it's always behaving in line with the dominant information. So if you keep on projecting that you're healthy, you're changing the dominant information, and you're changing the behavior of your body. And this is something which a lot of people don't know. About 95% of people say, well, I'm 60, I have the same body from the age of 18 that I grew up, and it's the same body, it's just getting older, and that's all. No, my friend. 30 times you have been reborn again, your body, and the old body has left, And that also tells another thing, which is regarding stress, tells us that our I would say, dominant misconception about death. Death is not the opposite of life. Death is not the opposite of life. Death is another word for change. Because if I have every 2 years a new body, the old body has died, but I continue.
Yes.
I have not forgotten how to speak English, Czech, Serbian, all the Silva techniques. I have not forgotten anything. Not even the things that I've learned during these last 2 years. So the question is, where is this information stored? The carrier of the information has been changed, the body, but I know everything. I have not forgotten anything. I have a new carrier of information, a new body. So the question is, where is this information? That's in our soul, in our informational field, and that is a continuum. It doesn't have a beginning, it doesn't have an end. So death is not an opposite of life. Death is just another word for change. Something old needs to die in order for something new to be born. And an old habit needs to die in order for a new habit to be born. Life is continuous. It has no beginning and no end. You are, as the science would say, continuous. We would say, in a lay manner terms, you're eternal. Okay. So this is, first of all, this is a large source of stress in a lot of people because they fear death, and they don't understand this basic misconception that, death is the opposite of life. It's not. And you have proved now by scientists every 2 years we have a new body. So, so you have perfectly died and you have been reborn every 2 years. So what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? So that's also another big source of stress. This thinking about dying, and death.
Yes, also definitely.
But this what I told you is about the health, which a lot of people don't know, that their body is renewing itself every 2 years. And plus, if you talk about aging, you have a fantastic experiment that was done by Ellen Langer from Harvard University. And she took, this was done in 1989, and this became a classic. And she took these people who are like over 75 years old to a special remote hotel, in the mountains in the eastern United States. And she said to them, she did all the biomarkers of age and checked it out in all of them. And then she said, we're going to pretend that we're 30 years younger. That it's 1959, not 1989. And they brought these little tabs, with the pictures from 1959. She had parked Cadillacs from 1959. She put on TV the white and black programs from 1959. She put on the tables the magazines from 1959 and stuff. And they said, just pretend and talk to others as if it were 1959. And they were talking to each other. Oh, my kid George just went to high school, and he's blah, 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 and so forth. Then she checked the biomarkers. Total change of age, She had people that had fingers like this deformed, and they came back. She even had extension of fingers, of fingers measured. People that were lying in bed and being fed by a nurse got up and had walks in the woods, and stuff. Total reversal of age just by pretending. So I say to people, I am 53, and that's what I am, I am 53. My nervous system is listening carefully, and it's applying it. So doing this, your nervous system is very carefully listening. And if some people say, I met this, a guy comes and he says, they say, what's your age, and then he goes, he's looking for a compliment, and he says, well, guess, and the ladies, in order to be, fair, they say, well, 55, and he goes, no, 65. Oh, you look much younger, I never say that. I say, what's my age? And I say, what age are you interested in? Are you chronological, biological, or psychological? Unless you're hiding something. I'm not hiding anything. I'm just being precise, Biological and after a certain chronological age, I say to people, concentrate on your biological and psychological age. And the elements of that, of having continuous health, the first one is neutralization of stress. If you know how to do that, relaxation longer than 15 minutes, a guilt eliminator, worry transformer, then you're doing a fantastic job with that. The second element for continuous health is healthy self-esteem, healthy relationship with yourself. Because when a person gets a health problem, the body is protesting and saying, hey, boss, stop terrorizing us, please. We're doing everything that we can according to biological laws, but you've been terrorizing us by your worries and your guilt feelings and by your self-punishment, and you're beating us up also all the time. So make a change. Make a change in what? In your relationship with yourself. So a lot of people do not connect the health problem with lack of self-esteem. That is key. That is crucial. This is what I teach people. Change the information about your health, like we do in Mirror of the Mind, and change the habits in your self-esteem in order to, create ground for continuous health. The third element is your thinking during the day. We call that mental hygiene, so that your thoughts are not thoughts of destruction and opposite to your health and well-being. And the fourth element of continuous health is your ability, knowledge, skill to change your old limiting habits. And we have in Silva Method the habit control technique, and we have the 3-scene technique with the favorite drink, which usually people use water. So we have 2 techniques to change the limiting habits, because we're 95% of the time we're habitual. So if you know these 4 elements, if you use them every day, then you're healthy all lifelong. Period.
Wow. Amazing gist was there for our full podcast.
That's it.
That the 4 steps and what are the exact 4 steps. And I'm pretty sure that I always recommend people to come and join the seminars, or maybe taking the home study courses, as this is the one of the amazing or greatest investment people can done for their life. And this is the most important thing, to take care of ourselves, and it should be our first priority, to take care of ourselves, our body,
Mm.
because this is the only place where we live, in our body.
Let me say something, Develin, about Silva Method. Uh, you have in life what and how and why, the 3 basic questions, the 3 essential
Mm-hmm.
questions. We are the how,
Hmm.
Silva Method. We are the how. We give instruments to people, tools, so that they can
Hmm.
solve insomnia problems, headaches, achieve their goals, receive information if they don't know, change their habits. So we have an unbelievable set of tools that in my opinion, nobody has, that you can receive in such a short period of time and use it practically in your everyday life. Second thing about Silva Method is that you turn towards the origin. You turn within, not without, because people try to find something outside, which is a pill
Exactly.
or a
Hmm.
medication,
Hmm.
or I don't have an emotional partner, so when he comes into my life or she comes in, everything is going to change in my life. No,
Yeah.
this is not how life functions. Life always functions within, and then it
Hmm.
manifests itself on the outside without. How did we start our podcast? It was an idea. It was just an idea. Where is the idea? Who photographed our idea? Who measured the weight of our idea? It's within. And now we just did a
Yes.
podcast. We manifested itself on the outside. So we direct people to really start changing within, and then their life will manifest itself as changed on the outside without. And that's also, but we give them the tools how to do that. We don't give them theory, and we don't give them talk about, because I myself, I never like to talk too much around. I always like to give tools and concrete equipment for the person. So we're the how. And when somebody says Silva Method, what are you? I said, I'm the how. That's what's been missing in your life. You know what you want. You want to be healthy, for example, when you find an emotional partner,
Yes.
and you know why, but you don't know how. The how is the black hole. So we come in with the how.
Yeah. Wow. This was amazing. I think this can be the title of our podcast.
Whatever you choose.
This was
Whatever
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
choose.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Dragan. It was amazing. Even I got so many things from you, and I believe our conversations will go on furthermore on amazing various topics. We will pick and we will bring the insights of some amazing topics of our daily lives on which we are struggling to get answers, and we will bring these things more and more to people. So thank you so much for joining us today. And for all who are watching us, I will put the link of his Dragon's website in the description box, so that you can check out his amazing products, and the introduction, mainly the introduction that Dragon also I will want to mention here, just like that introduction of yours that I have seen. It was amazing. It's mind blowing. So if people will just see that video, they will get a clear idea of what he is doing, how amazingly he is doing the stuffs, to help people all over the world. So thank you so much, Dagan. Have a nice day.
Okay, Evelina, it was a pleasure. It was a
Yeah,
pleasure for me,
yeah,
and I'm looking forward to being together with you next time. There are
exactly,
many topics that
exactly.
we can talk about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So many topics. We
Okay,
will
take
cover
care.
soon all
Take
the
care.
topics. Thank you. Take care. Take care. Bye.
Bye bye.